I think the biggest problem, and this is like the biggest fear for every investor or anybody watching this is always, is my contractor going to screw me over, right? I gave them money. Are they going to run with it? So that's the biggest fear. So what I like doing, and also like loss protect us as well as contractors. So I always say, hey, we'll always leave more money behind than we have work, and like that we have work to complete. So for instance, let's say we're done with 50% of the project. I'm only in payments up to 40%. So that makes the customer feel more secure. And then we create the trust is already through social media, and we actually deliver. Most contractors, the sad truth is they don't deliver, and that's why we get the bad rap, which I totally understand.
Eric, thank you for joining me for our Thought Leader Spotlight series. I'm head of partnerships over here, Matt Camp here at DealMachine, and on these, we really like to shine an industry spotlight on experts like yourself, hear your inspiring stories, and really educate our audience on where you see the world evolving. So today, really excited to welcome on Eric Escobar. I know I called you the other day. You were in the field that day, so it's awesome to see like you in action as well, man. You're at it. But we originally met at the Springboard to Wealth group. I know we've had Thatch on here quite a few times as well. So love that community. I know you're the director of ops at Esco Builders Inc. And really specialize in ADUs, garage conversion, construction. So we've got a lot of things to dig into, and excited to have you on, man.
Cool, man. Awesome. Let's do it. Yeah, glad to be here, bro.
Yeah. Can you maybe to start off with? Can you maybe tell us how you got into real estate, how you got started on this journey?
Yeah, so like many people during the pandemic, things shifted a lot for them. So for myself, I owned 5 gyms at the time, and I went from making a good amount of income to zero when they shut down all gyms in California. So I had to pivot, sold some gyms off, and with that money that I sold these gyms off, fire sold them basically. I joined the course, which happens to be my mentor at the, he's still my mentor to today, and he owns a lot of real estate. So he's like, hey, just buy houses. So I bought the little house, fixing it up. After that, there was this crazy idea like, hey, we could build another little house next to it, which is called an ADU, Accessory Dwelling Unit. So we built the other little house to it, and my mentor comes over, and he says, hey, who's building this? Like, he actually goes to the site and is like, who's building this? And I said, we are. We're the builders. We do construction for a living with my dad. Like, that's kind of been our big thing in construction. So now in hindsight, I think like, hey, part of building the gym, the exciting part for me was actually the build, not so much the build and the marketing, not so much the fulfillment of clients. That's like now
Mhm.
looking back, right? And so we were always in building, and he's like, cool, how busy are you guys with work? And I said, oh, we're working with one investor, one flipper, but not too much. And he's like, great, do 3 videos a day, and you're not going to know what to do with enough of that retail business, and it's going to bring you more investment deals as well. So
Mhm.
now 3 4 years later, that's exactly what I did, and he was absolutely right. I don't like we have a backlog of customers when it comes to building ADUs, and then we are like sourcing deals from social media for ourselves too. So
Wow.
in the whole world, like in the whole gist, social media helped me out so much when it came to the construction side and the investing side.
Love that, man. So I know you touched on ADUs briefly there. Can you maybe do a little bit of a deeper dive on why that's such a powerful strategy for investors to be thinking about and really educate our audience? Because I think a lot of our audience aren't necessarily aware of what those are.
Got it. So in Southern California or Seattle or Washington, in these high price markets, these are called accessory dwelling units. So these little units, you could put them 1,000 square feet, 1,200 square feet, all the way down to a garage conversion, which is 400 or 500 square feet. If you just buy the house by itself, it's so difficult for it to cash flow. And we added a little second unit legally, and that's a big thing here in California. A lot of people say you could get it done unpermitted everywhere else. That's fine. Here in California, since we're so they're so tenant friendly, you want to make sure you get this done right with architectural plans, submitting to the city, getting construction done right with inspections. That'll help you offset the mortgage or have a little bit of cash flow. Maybe in some cases, if you build 2 of these in one house, like one lot, you could cash flow a lot. So thinking, how could I cash flow and still get the appreciation? And in California, the ADUs, building these little units in the backyard, that's the way. So they're basically just little mother-in-law suites, granny flats they call them in other places that you could actually rent out um, without having to be like under the radar on renting them out and getting in trouble by your neighbors. So it's all fully permitted and legal.
Yeah, yeah, it's something too. I mean, especially if you're taking that kind of burr strategy approach, like finding a bigger lot, out there, and then being able to build one of those. I mean, that's gonna force so much, value creation right there, right?
I think that the best value creation is like, let's say, and we're thinking this is in California where houses are probably not that big, right? So we're doing like a 1,500 square foot home. You maybe do 500 as what they call a junior ADU, a junior accessory dwelling unit, and then let's say you have a detached garage, and you change that into an ADU, right? The detached garage. So your cost of build is a lot lower, but you're going to cash flow right away.
Love it. So, and I know you talk about the West Coast being that a big area for that. Can you tell us, where can you be doing ADUs like this, and where do you see that going? Like, do you see most of the U.S. being able to do this someday? Or I'd love to hear your opinions on this.
Right. So as of right now, all California could do it. I know all Washington could do it, and there's different states. I see it now in Arizona happening. I see it now in like some higher density city areas. Let's say like Tampa, Florida. Like they're starting to pass these things. City councils are adjusting because of the housing crisis, right? And it makes more affordable living. Now, a super bonus that's happening in Washington, it's just happening here in California, is you're able to like make it into a condo and sell it off if you want, separately from the actual house. So for an investor that's a flipper or maybe a long-term burr investor, these are like plays that are like maybe you're not making 10,000, 20,000, but you're making $300,000-$400,000 spreads on these deals.
Yeah. So for somebody, if they're in a market that's a little more, a denser market, like you said, that this may come to, is there any way they can be preparing right now, or how can they kind of keep up on the news like this too?
So what I do, I just put ADU on Google and I save it, dude. So I save it, so everything that comes out news with ADU, it pops up on my Google. That's one way. Number two, so you could prepare. What I would say is land bank. So start buying houses that have big backyards, especially if you're in a dense area or a yard where you could put comfortably 1,000 square foot ADU, maybe with an alley access or a corner lot. So they could have their own private entrance, whatever future tenant you're going to have there. It doesn't mean you have to build it today, but you have the land to do it.
Love that. And when you're actually building it, I know you guys specialize in that, obviously, right? Like, can you tell us the keys to building an ADU like that? Like, and really, I'd love to hear like what makes you guys so good at it. Like, what separates you guys from the rest when you're doing this too?
I think the biggest problem, and this is like the biggest fear for every investor or anybody watching this, is always, is my contractor going to screw me over, right? I gave them money. Are they going to run with it? So that's the biggest fear. So what I like doing, and also like loss protect us as well as contractors. So I always say, hey, we'll always leave more money behind than we have work, and like that we have work to complete. So for instance, let's say we're done with 50% of the project. I'm only in payments up to 40%. So that makes the customer feel more secure, and then we create the trust is already through social media, and we actually deliver. Most contractors, the sad truth is they don't deliver, and that's why we get the bad rap, which I totally understand.
Yeah. Are there any other? I mean, for sure, we definitely hear that hesitation. Like, are there any other ways that people can really assess a contractor before getting into that partnership with them? Like, how do they really know that there's somebody that they can really work with and trust?
Yeah, man, it's. Somebody told me yesterday. I talked to a lot of construction people in the area, and they're like, "Hey, why do you talk to your competition?" And I said, "Like that person there is not my competition. My competition, hear this out, is the people that take 200,000, 250,000 from people and run. That's my competition because those are the people that are giving us bad rap, and it's always happening. Like I always hear these stories, especially on social media. I get people sending me messages like, "Hey, what could I do now?" I said, "Well, now you can't do much because you probably lost your money." And we're talking about a lot of money, 250,000. That's the latest one I heard just like a few days ago,
Wow.
from directly from the source, from the person that gave out the 250,000. So what you could do, make sure they're licensed, obviously, right? Go to your state website. For us, it's California State License Board. But that's just the beginning. Make sure they're licensed. Make sure they don't have any cases going against them. You can check that on that website as well. Go to Yelp. Like, these are all little things that most people say, I'll do it later, and they don't get to it because then the sweet talker salesman guy comes and starts talking to you, right? So go to Yelp, go to Google. Hey, could I walk a few of your jobs? Hey, could I talk to a few of your clients, your prior clients? Or could I talk to your current client? These are things that you could do right now before you choose a contractor. And then always trust your gut. Like, a lot of people underestimate that. They're like, no, he'll be good. Like, and it's just every time like my gut tells me like, hey, be careful with this person. It always comes back around. So um, definitely check your sources. And then maybe the biggest thing is, are they referred by somebody? That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Somebody
Yeah.
that actually. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead, Eric.
Somebody that they actually did work for, not a relative that, oh, my uncle's good. No, not that person. Make sure it's somebody that they actually done work for and is not related to them.
Yep. Yeah, I think the gut check is always an interesting one. I mean, we pick up on so many nonverbals that I think the gut check a lot of times can be your brain telling you like, hey, there's something really it can throw up flags or help you really understand if you trust that person just from us picking up a lot of information that we wouldn't normally consciously be doing, right? So
we had a bad subcontractor that was like stealing from a lot of people, and this is what gave it away. So in the Mexican culture, I don't know about you guys, but barbecuing carne asada is huge for us, right? So this guy comes, and I think I'm out in Seattle with you, and this guy comes and gives my dad 200 pounds worth of meat. I said, whoa, whoa, whoa. I said, stop the money. I told my dad, stop the money. I said, something's weird. I said, a subcontractor never does that to a contractor. The contractor will always take care of the subcontractor, but never the other way around. It's just the nature of the business. So I said, this is too much for a subcontractor to give. Sure and be told, he's taking advantage of other people around. I said that was just like the hook to get us in, to reel us in.
Wow.
So my gut feeling prevented us from losing a lot of money on that.
No kidding, man. Are there any other?
It came from carne asada, bro.
Hey, dude, I love that. Do you or that's a great story. Are there any other examples of like common mistakes you see from other investors when they're working with contractors or are trying to figure out how to navigate that, especially for the first time as a newer investor trying to tackle this?
Yeah. So let's say you're doing a build, right? I don't know where a lot of the investors are, but let's say you're doing a brand new build and you see the foundation going up and you see the framing going up. Every time people see framing going up, they get so excited. They're like, "Oh, we're almost done." I'm like, "No, you're barely starting." So like when the contractor comes and says, "Hey, I need $100,000, $200,000 to continue," it's like, wait, pump the brakes, get the framing done first, get all your mechanical, electrical, plumbing done first, and then we could talk about it. Make sure you have the progress payments in order based on inspections passed, not based on the contractor's feelings. Like, oh, I need more money this week because of my guys. Like, that's not your job to run their business. So it's always going to be like, make sure you have your payment schedule laid out and don't get excited when you see framing being done. That's the biggest thing. Like, anything you can take away from this, do not get excited when you see framing done because fresh wood looks amazing, but it does cost, like, it does cost money, but it's not the money that contractors are trying to get upfront from you.
Yep. Yeah, I was going to say it's fun to see. I'm sure in general, like it's a great milestone, but also there's a lot of work to be done from there. So
I would say when you get framing done, you're probably like 25% in.
Wow.
But most contractors on payments are probably like 60%, like asking from the customer. So just keep that in mind.
That's a great tip. You brought up earlier that you work with your family in this. Do you have any advice or lessons learned from that experience? I know there's plenty of people on here that we hear that often of like, hey, can I work with family or friends? Like, I'd love to hear your perspective on it.
I've yet to have a problem. Yes, you have like little discussions. So my brother does all our electrical. My dad runs the day-to-day on with the crews, and then I'm just a little bit of everywhere, right? Doing the social media, doing I say I'm like the Ronald McDonald of Esco Builders, which is fine, right? I haven't had, and obviously we have all our crews, but I haven't had problems. My brother's older than me, so maybe sometimes he's like, hey, I don't want like because I have to tell him where to go sometimes, right? He does the electrical, so maybe that might be the only thing. Like he doesn't like taking orders from me. But other than that, no. Like in the big scheme of things, we really haven't had a problem or issues. I actually prefer it because we have limited time on this earth, and I get to see my father every day. So to me, that's great. Other than that, I wouldn't be able to see him every day. So
Mhm.
it's a blessing for me personally.
Yeah. I mean, I have similar feelings on DealMachine. It's not family, but it's close friends that you know I've known for a long time that started DealMachine that I've worked with before, and I was really excited to work with them again from that standpoint. If I'm spending more time with them, I have so much trust already built with them. You know, like I know people can be wary about doing business with their friends, but it's really helped us in terms of being able to communicate quickly and really trust each other. So
I spoke to a very successful investor the other day. He buys houses, builds the ADU and junior ADU, and that's what he's been doing for years now. And everybody that works with him is a family member or a friend. And I'm like, and he's very successful. That's when everybody that works around them is family or friends. So, you know, I don't try to do it over, and maybe there's trust there from the beginning. You know, just follow the recipe.
that's awesome, man. Well, this has been phenomenal. I really, really appreciate you coming on. It's a subject that I'd love to even dig in further with you on a future one, just because I know we don't hear as much on the construction side, really in general. So
Yeah.
I appreciate you sharing those nuggets with our audience and helping them think through strategies like adding an ADU that they may never have even thought of. So, Eric, how can people get in touch with you? I know you've got a lot of great content on Instagram, but where else?
Just TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. It's the same handle. It's Eric Paul Paul, and then Escobar, the famous last name Escobar, and that's it. Simple as that.
Perfect. We'll link to all that below, man. I know we'll have a couple other free resources we'll link to as well. But Eric, really appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, bro.
Awesome. And to everybody watching this, Matt Camp over here with DealMachine. Happy deal finding.